Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This is part of a series on Gaza and Palestine, and this is describing the events after October 7th throughout the month of October. This is Palestine here at the east shore of the White Sea, which is the Mediterranean Sea. It is at the face of the most important economic crossing known to man, which is the crossing from Europe to India, and that includes all of the north here. The only way to travel with a big number of cargo for trade and to get economic power via trade, to leverage power, or to even ship raw materials in mass needed for trade to become powerful in a world economy, you need to use this water crossing here to get from one side of the world to another. And it's significant because half of our world is ocean. So that means that for the other half of the world here, this is the center of the economic crossing. And unfortunately, this land does not contain a lot of water, but it does contain a lot of raw materials and natural resources needed for the technology of engines and economic power. So because it does not have a large amount of water, you cannot grow a very big city, and you cannot concentrate human power, focus human power. So back in 1950, around the same time that there was a declaration of a statehood here at Israel, where they declared it the State of Israel, which was different from the time before when it was Palestinian, or it was the land of Palestine, Arab Muslims. And around that same time was a time when American businessmen were giving money to China, while at the same time China was genociding hundreds of millions of Chinese people, just killing them by, well, it was a 10-year process where they took all of the land from the people in this work called communism. And then they made this great leap forward where basically they would buy all of the world's natural resources, especially needed for engines, and then and for making like steel needed to make skyscrapers, and they were going to make the first megacities. And before this time, iron was not strong enough to support large structures. So all of the skyscrapers in the entire world were made in the last 70 years. They were made since 1950 when they got the technology. And that made China a huge manufacturing base. The only downfall is that if you want to be a manufacturer, you also need raw materials. And raw materials is something that China does not have, but they get it by economic deals with other countries in order to obtain those raw materials needed, and then that would allow them to maintain their dominance economically on the world trade. So this is specifically talking about Gaza and the events in October of 2023, which was after the event of October 7th. So the October 7th is a day when the walls of Gaza, which are this here is Gaza, and you can see clearly that there's some kind of separation here of the terrain, and this is a wall. and it's like concrete and barbed wire, and it's across the entire little mini country of Palestine, which is 2 million people, and 1 million of those people are here up at Gaza City. And for the last 50 years, the government, since he came to power here, the Israelis have been taking property of Arab Muslims, calling them Palestinian, and sending them out of their homes from these small cities around the border, which you now see as the border. And those people are just refugees. They come into the Gaza Strip to settle because they are Palestinian. They have nowhere to go. They've been expelled from their homes. And so they just come together here where they know what they know is safety. And it's created these big refugee camps, is what they call them. And the most developed of them are here in Gaza City. And not all of them have plumbing and sewage treatment or these utilities, public utilities, and all of the electrical power that's needed to support a life of a city, like such as getting that water in. It's coming from outside of the wall, and it's being controlled by the Israelis. So that would, and as well as their gas supply to run the vehicles needed for life throughout this, I guess it's 50 kilometers or 40 kilometers long and 10 kilometers wide. One of the most developed of the refugee camps is the Rimal refugee camp. It's one of the oldest, and they are mostly fishermen. And this is Rimal neighborhood. They are mostly fishermen, and there is one port in Gaza. It's here. And so about 75% of the neighborhood are fishermen and depend on that. And they're the more upper wealthy people of the area. And there's a number of other camps there. The Shati refugee camp is here along the coastline. And we will discuss more about the refugee camps. So on October 7th, the wall was broken, and this was a reaction to a new economic vision of the Israelis that they announced and then were preparing to engage. And its name is the New Middle East. It is a infrastructure project where they would make transportation lines and a new canal to ship goods. They would actually build a canal just like the Suez Canal, and they would make it to connect the Saudi Arabia to Israel. It would be made to connect them. So how do you connect Saudi Arabia and Israel via a maritime route? These are the words. Only by passing under Gaza. So this is the economic vision of the Israelis to connect from the Gulf of Aqaba, a maritime route from Saudi Arabia to Israel, which would mean that Israel would have to basically come around Gaza Strip. So, and that would be to bypass the choke point of the Suez Canal. That's what they said. And they said in this economic vision that they do not need to care anymore about Palestine, and the Palestinians don't need to have a say anymore. And then he proceeds to do these hideous acts, which is the month of October 2023. It's a Black October. And the wall, so the October 7th began at 6 a.m., where the army of Hamas Palestine breaks open the wall, and they they sustain fire this way towards the major cities and major power base of Tel Aviv, which is 500,000 people, and it's his power base. And there's a smaller one with 100,000, Ashkelon. And then there's the military base at Zakim and the power grid. So Hamas is going to sustain fire this way to keep them occupied. And then they are going to send fire into the police station at Sirda and Erez and cross them and keep them occupied, because most of the Israeli army is focused up at the northern area, just as the population actually is for Gaza. It is 2 million people, and there's 1 million. They're all focused here at Gaza City in the north. So Hamas is going to also break through at the center wall, and the purpose is going to be specifically to target the music festival. And the purpose of that is that there will be 4,000 Israelis off duty with no weapons, reserve forces for the Israeli armies who would be called to duty if there was ever a war. And those exact people, 20 years old, max 30s, are going to be all partying here with no weapons, and they're going to be surprised, encircled. They're going to be encircled by coming up to the highway and catching them at the highway, because they don't know they are surprised, and because of this they're not able to react intelligently about the situation. They don't know what is actually happening. They're not able to comprehend. So they're going to encircle them here, and they're going to trap and burn most of the cars. They're going to hit cars with RPGs, and they're going to focus all of the people, and they're going to trap, and they're going to take 100 hostages, which now are prisoners of war. They're going to take 100 prisoners of war here, and then and at the same time, they're going to be down here in Nir Oz, outside. They're going to break open the wall at Kuza, and they're going to go straight up to Nir Oz, straight up, specifically this road right here. It's a road that goes in between the fields, and it goes out to into the side road, because these are kibbutz. A kibbutz means a commune. It's a communist township where nobody owns the property, and everybody gets the same amount of money for doing different jobs, and your job changes every 4 years, and your house is the size of how big your family is given to you by the government. So the Hamas is going to do a simultaneous operation. They're going to try to take 100 hostages out of this one area of Nir Oz, because such a military operation as this morning of October 7th, it's very big, and it requires a lot of manpower, and it's all going to happen very fast. And to accomplish anything, you're going to have to be able to coordinate, multiple things at once. So they are going to take 100 hostages simultaneously out of the Reem Festival in Nir Oz, and they're going to be a heavy amount of movement for that reason right here, where his main job is just to grab hostages. And then in the other cities, it's going to be more of going door to door, knowing that they're all locked in safe rooms, and not being able to concentrate enough of the Hamas army into all one township to be able to quickly accomplish this. So by 2 hours after the start, the helicopters who have been working up in the top area, because they are an emergency standby, and these are the helicopters that they have available, They are going to move down towards the south area because they will be given orders to head south to the Nuraz break. And that is because they will have intelligence that there's so many things moving back and forth across this area. And so they will engage and shoot as many and kill as many people as they can, and not knowing that these are hostages. And then in the days that follow, they will recover all of the bodies of their own people, which they killed themselves. They'll recover them all in this area here, and the body count will go up dramatically. And they will say that they killed all the Hamas army here. But it was obviously, this was the big hostage arm. This was the wing that was supposed to focus on the grabbing the prisoners of war, which were an essential part of the strategy for this kind of war. So focusing on the time, so this is Netanyahu. He is 75 years old, and he is going to immediately send out his tanks, and he's going to recall his helicopters by lunchtime at Doher, and he is going to send out fighter jets to the area. So by noontime or by 1 p.m., Israeli tanks are going to be rolling into these small cities here and setting up. And Netanyahu is going to send his Air Force out into Gaza, now knowing that he's set up like his little security perimeter. So this creates some kind of like air defense so that you can't have like using anti-aircraft missiles. So that he would be free and clear to send in his fighter jets, his expensive jets. So by the afternoon time, he is going to start a bombardment of Gaza. And he is going to hit So this is Palestine Tower. It's a residential building. It's going to be hit. And this is October 7th, same day. And then they're going to strike again. And use some kind of smart bomb, clearly. And the whole structure is going to be just crushed. You can see that there's multiple explosions. So this is a smart bomb on October 7th, afternoon time, after just, hours after the tower is broken, and Hamas army has fully retreated back into Gaza, withdrawn, and the operation's finished. And it's the Israelis are going to be using some kind of smart bomb already on a residential tower, immediately hitting it. And you can see that there was the explosion that struck the top. It seemed to be some kind of warning shot. And then you see that after they send another one, it hits the core and the lower levels, and then like secondary explosions, because as you learned, we've just in the last 70 years learned to make high-rise towers. This is a high-rise tower. It's steel, but concrete is reinforcing it. And you can't just hit it and it's going to turn into dust. You can't just hit the bottom and then the building is going to magically fall apart. It's being pulverized because there is like a detonation set into it. So, and you saw them, those secondary detonations where it's exploding, and then you see the building really start to crumble at that moment. There's nothing under it, and it just falls, and then you see the so these are multi charges into these bombs. Like, these are really smart bombs with like multiple detonations, because it's doing a demolition work. And a demolition of a building is when you go into the center core of the structure and you set like bombs like all around and on every level, so that you can break the building full into pieces that you can take on and move it and clear the area. So this is demolition with a bomb. That was one of the smart bombs. They're going to use 2 more smart bombs by the end of this month. So this is focusing on October of 2023 in Gaza, of what happened after October 7th. So this is October 7th. So he hit the Palestine Tower, and then he's going to do strikes throughout the night. The next day, on October 8th, they're going to say that in Gaza, there is 300 people killed and 2,000 people hurt. And they are going to say that 20,000 people are now running from their homes. And they're going to say that 40 schools are opening for shelter. So there's going to be this bombardment. The bombardment is going to hit the Palestine Tower here at the shore around Gaza City Center. And that same night, I believe it hits like the minister's office here at the, basically they're the business districts on the beach side of Gaza City. Here on the south of this port. So that's that business district, and they're going to hit a number of government buildings here all on the night of October 7th. And it's going to start a movement of people running. They will be bombarded in the night. They will just basically run out of their building, or if their home is broken and their family is killed, and they're going to be going out the door with no shoes, maybe hurt, and have nothing. So they're going to look for shelter. And the school, 40 United Nations schools, all of the schools in Palestine are United Nations schools, because they have not been allowed to have a true government. That's what this whole two-state solution is. It's that Israel is the state, but Palestine is not a state, and there is no, it's not a country, it's not a state, it doesn't get anything. It's just, it's refugee camps. So they're blocking all of life, stopping all of humanity here. And like I said, the Gaza is very developed, but as you start to come south into the lesser developed areas, you'll see that camps are just, they're like entirely camps. There's just like neighborhoods upon neighborhoods that are not developed. Not like in the last 50 years where everybody got to build skyscrapers. Well, not everybody got to build skyscrapers. Some people were basically, their homes were destroyed and they were just sent to live in tents. So there's actually huge parts of some of these cities made up of tents. And when they say the refugee camps in Gaza, we are actually talking about like quite high-rise buildings, maybe 3 levels, 2 to 3 levels, and quite big structures. But these are camps. They're like not well developed, and they don't have all of the utilities, and they don't all get electricity and all of this. It's a very underdeveloped. The trade is stopped there. Their rights for trade have been blockaded since Hamas took power in 2006. So the economy has not been able to develop, and they have not been able to get raw materials needed for economic, you know, how do you say, regeneration. You have to continually regenerate. So October 9th, they say now there is 400 killed, so hundreds more have been killed, and the number 400 killed is based on what people have reported. And as you will see through the month of October, there's going to be like 200 to 500 bombs dropped in every night. And to drop 200 or 500 or 700 bombs on this area overnight, it's so populated that there is going to be mass casualties. There's going to be massive number of people hurt and killed. So they will claim 400, but they will be dropping thousands of bombs. By this time, they will have dropped thousands. There will be people on the news saying his entire family and his home is destroyed, and this is within a day. October 10th, the Israelis are going to be reporting that they have hit 200 targets overnight. And then by October 11th, they are going to say that they destroyed 200 more buildings overnight, and that 12,000 homes are damaged or broken. And they're going to say that American warships are coming to the shores of Gaza to help with the defense of Israel. And as you know, that all of the bombs that Israel gets are borrowed from the Americans. So the Americans are the spearhead. They are the actual will and force behind the destruction of Palestine. It's an American destruction of Palestine and American bombs, just using the hand of Netanyahu to accomplish it, and concealing it in all of these crazy politics and really wacky garbage news reports that have no basis in reality. Then by October 12th, they will claim 2,000 strikes and 1,000 killed. So this is a tremendous rate. By October 12th, which is just 5 days after October 7th, they will be striking hospitals. Then they will start, within this time, they will destroy 4 masjids, 4 mosques in the Gaza City area, along with the whole city center. So that would be this area here where there's very many like government offices. They will completely demolish all of this. So this is where all of the 200 bombs a night are going into this destruction here. And by this time, there's going to be 90,000 people on the streets within just a handful of days. So the Israelis are going to make a emergency unity government, which is just basically a hijacking of the Israeli, like military directive. So they have to have some kind of like government legislative like legitimization of like using their military power, because war is illegal. You're not allowed to just go making wars just because you're a leader of a country. So there's prohibitions on war. So he's going to make this emergency. And as like a cover over for hijacking the government and the army of Israel, and as an excuse for drafting 300,000 Israeli young people, which is under 40 years old. He will call them all up to active duty to be on standby. They will by this time have destroyed 23,000 residential units. So by day 5 or day 6, you're just seeing like this tremendous speed of destruction. And it's often happening in the dark of the night, I guess to provide some kind of air defense for their fighter jets. And from what we know, which is very little about these strikes, what we know about the Israeli strikes is that they're happening like 200 a night up until day 5. They're going to start claiming 500 strikes in one night. And then within 48 hours, they will be claiming 750 targets overnight. So by the end of the first week, they're going to just be ramped up. They're going to be claiming Americans are here now, and they're going to be double to tripling the number of strikes in a night. 750 targets overnight by day 7. And they're going to, in this time, they claimed 80 targets in Beit Hanun alone. So Beit Hanun is the city to the north. Then there is the Jabalia, which is an extension of Gaza City. It's another city. And then there's Gaza City itself. So in this time, there are going to be strikes throughout Gaza Strip done by the Israeli Air Force. So they are going to be south as well. But the major focus of destruction is going to be that Remel neighborhood of Gaza and Beit Hanun, which you will see. So 750 targets at night. They're going to, at this time, tell everyone in Gaza, 1 million people, you must leave your home and your city in 24 hours. They'll give the evacuation notices to Gaza City via text messages and papers and say, in 24 hours, you need to get out of the city because there's a military operation happening. So there's going to be 2,000 killed by this day in Gaza. They're going to have constant Air Force. And they're going to start the evacuation of the cities outside of the wall. So any Israelis who live in these cities outside of the wall are going to be within a 3-kilometer area, are going to be told to pack your bags, get all your things, and get on the bus. And they'll never go home, but they don't know this. So it's 1 year later now. And then we have within this next week, there's going to be 600,000 people displaced. So 600,000 people of the 1 million in this area. And they're going to 600,000 are going to get onto the Salah el-Din highway and start traveling southward because the warnings from the Israeli army said go south, and so they really meant violence. And so 600,000 people are going to be so afraid, and they're going to get on that highway and they're going to leave everything that they've ever known, including that there will be so many hurt people. There will be tons of people here in this hospital that have already been hit and that cannot move. There's no possible way. There's no gas. There's no electric. So they can't be driving cars down this highway. They'll be walking, tens of thousands of people, and you'll see it all over the news media that there's just tens of thousands per day coming down this highway. So there's 600,000 that started to just with only their shoes and their clothes just in their backpack go. And then within 24 hours of this, the Israelis are going to strike a hospital with another smart bomb, and they're going to say that they're going to claim that inside the hospital that there was a leader of Hamas, and it's very clear the people have been running from the bombs. They'll go to maybe the city edge, and they'll come back in the morning to get their things, to figure out what to do, because they have nowhere to go. They just jumped out of their home in the middle of the night when the bombs were falling, and they gotta go back. They gotta get shoes. They can't survive like this. Maybe grab some water or whatever they can, see if their home is there, or maybe stay on the outside and try and wait, or more than half of them are gonna actually get on the highway and go per the directions. There will still be just hundreds of thousands of people here, like at least 400,000 people here still in this area, hiding in hospitals because they can't move or they're unconscious, and hiding in schools. So if their home was bombed, then they would have to run to the nearest school. So the month of October is the first 3 weeks of the attacks. The school that they hit is the hospital. So on October 17th, in this week 2, 10 days after October 7th, they are going to hit the Al Ali Arabi Hospital. And they are going to hit it as well as bombing all the other hospitals. So they're going to, this is Al Ali Arabi Hospital. It is in Gaza. If you take the road up from the port, from the south side of the port, up to the city center, up near Salah al-Din Highway, there is an Al Arabi Hospital in here. It's the one that has all the solar panels on the top. And they're going to claim that there's some leader here, and they're going to bomb the area. And they're going to kill 400 people with the bomb. And this will be a special kind of smart bomb, which they will talk about on the news. They will say that it exploded maybe 20 feet in the air, that it did not do very much damage to the hospital, but that it killed all of these people who were like sleeping or taking refuge in the parking lot. So 400 people killed in one moment by this in a hospital, targeting hospitals. And the Israeli Air Force will continue to very purposefully and very quickly hit hospital after hospital after hospital, and just hit hospital, hit. They will do that all through in this area of Gaza and Jabalia. So in this time, the Israelis will actually travel to Syria with their Air Force, and they will hit Damascus and Aleppo airports twice. They will hit it the first week, hit Damascus airport and Aleppo airport, and then 1 week later, the Israelis will go again to Damascus airport and Aleppo airport and airstrike them once again to disable the airport. That's what they said. And then by the end of October, on October night of October 29th to 30th, the Israelis will have a large number of tanks all ready around the wall, basically here at the northeast of the wall, and they are going to be preparing to come in to basically encircle Gaza City. And that will be their purpose, to encircle Gaza City. So that would be via tanks. And so for the last few days of October, the Israeli tanks are going to cross over in the night for reconnaissance or to shell and to advance, and then they'll retreat. They'll just do limited incursions where they attack and then retreat. And every day that the Israeli tanks cross that wall, they will lose 5 Israeli soldiers. So it becomes more expensive for the Israelis now. For the first time, they actually are having Israelis killed. So all of October is a destruction of the Palestinian people and the murder and genocide of Gaza City. And then the last couple of days, the Israelis are going to start to, for the first time, lose his own army men. The first time suffer consequences. And then within 48 hours of this, feeling the loss, they are going to strike another hospital, and they're going to strike the Jabalia refugee camp, which is near a hospital from what I understand. Lots of the camps each have a school near it, because they're massive camps with tens of thousands of people. They need a school and they need a hospital near them in a masjid. These are the facilities of civilization. So they will strike with a new smart bomb, and this smart bomb is going to hit the ground and come into the ground and burrow in its impact crater and then detonate. So it would have obviously stronger charges in it in order to be to detonate underground, and it's going to kill 400 people in one moment. So these bombs, there's now 2 different places struck where in 1 minute 400 people are going to be killed all at once. So these are massive bombs that were being tested, and they will demolish the Jabalia refugee camp, leaving a massive, these are other pictures of the destruction here. This is one of the first masjids hit. This is October 8th. They demolished a masjid. This is the attack of the smart bomb, which killed the 400. So it went into the ground and then hit, and you can just see how big it is and how it just did a total destruction. So these are some images of the destruction in Gaza City in the month of October. This is the El Rimel neighborhood. And this is when they're dropping the 200 bombs a night, and then by day 5 they're going to get 500 to 7 bombs in a night, and then by the end of the month they're going to start bringing in tanks and to do incursions. But they will continue the most of their work. This is October 10th, so this is 2 days in. They did this massive bombardment. This is October 12th. By October 12th, so this is a couple of days in, this is what they've hit. They've hit Al Shifa Hospital, Al Waifa Hospital, Al Shati Camp, the Ramal neighborhood, the hospital in Jabalia, the university, two hospitals here. So they're going to massively target medical centers. And as you come to understand that the Israeli army has the full purpose to get all of the people out of Gaza City. And they want the people out. They do not want the people to hide in the hospitals and to stay, or to hide in the schools and stay. And as you know, that the schools are a major place where the people are hiding now in October of 2023, and they are not bombarding the schools at this time in October. And in the next month, this is going to be one of the major campaigns in order to continue to get the people out, to remove the people from the land. So this is that October 31st massive strike of the Jabalia refugee camp. And by the end of October, they will say that 20,000 people have been killed. So this is 20 days and 20,000 people killed. So that's 1,000 people a day have been killed in Gaza in the month of October. And you know, from the number of bombs that are being dropped, and this is the number of people whose body has been found. And mind you, these are airstrikes, so they're going to be bombardments from the sky. They're going to break areas, and it's not going to be possible to get all of the bodies. So I think they recovered half of the bodies. And when they say 20,000 killed at the end of October, it's not true. It's 40,000 people. 40,000 people killed by the end of October. That's the true number. And the history books will tell the tale. So, there was these images. Like, here's another one of the hospitals. Al Shifa Hospital, which is on the beach side in Gaza. And that it's how much they've just completely destroyed it. So it had people in it, and they were hiding, and then look at what has been done in one moment. So this is the 40,000 people killed in 20 days, which the history books will tell the tale. They only claimed 20,000. And so to conclude this part of the series is that the city of Beit Hanun is going to be this is an image of one of the places in Beit Hanun. And here's another, this is October 31st in Beit Hanun. This is the skyline. And they will have Israeli tanks already coming into this area here at the city outskirts. And there's the city line of Beit Hanun. And Beit Hanun will be 70% destroyed within 2 weeks. They will say, and the only other place that will suffer this much damage, 70%. This is Beit Hanun here, the city of Beit Hanun. It has about 30,000 people in it. The hospital will completely be destroyed, and the people will be 70% destroyed. The people will be completely evacuated from this area, nearly, and it will suffer the biggest amount of damage in this first 2 weeks. The only other place that will suffer that much damage is here near the Al Shati camp. Here, it's a neighborhood that's a little bit like more wealthy. It's called the Ramal neighborhood. It's one of the oldest districts. And all around this area are the refugee camps around in Gaza City. It's tremendously refugee camps, which are, multi-story buildings that don't have, all of the utilities. So Rimmel neighborhood was the destruction, almost entire, complete destruction of El Rimmel neighborhood, and the complete destruction of Beit Hanun city in the Black October of 2023, where Israel has started this genocide, which will be remembered for hundreds of years, a genocide of the people of Gaza, Palestine. And the purpose and strategically for an army to destroy these areas here is that they can access this highway here from the north. They have all of their warships here where they are flying the fighter jets off of and reloading the bombs with, because as you know, Israel does not have enough bombs or money to do a genocide of Gaza. They had to borrow money and borrow bombs. So the bombs are not in Israel. The bombs are in America, and they're being sent over on the ship. So they're coming in on the ship right here. That's where all the bombs are. They're loading up the bombs onto the fighter jets right here on the ocean with the American ships, and they are flying them into Gaza, and they are attacking, and they wanted to use this highway in order to help encircle Gaza City. They brought their tanks over here, set their tanks in, but they're not actually going in yet with their tanks, really. And then they'll demolish here. They will demolish this city because they want everyone completely out of there so that they can occupy Beit Hanun and use those roadways as because it's the north highway of Gaza, and would allow the encirclement, the army to encircle the city. And in this time, in the end of October, there is still 400,000 people here in this area, which are now encircled by these genociders. So we will continue with the series on Gaza, Palestine. And it is now 1 year later, and we have a mountain of evidence towards the reality of this situation, and it's being given to us in breadcrumbs, like one breadcrumb mixed with tons of salt. Like they are giving like one detail about what happened and then making a hours-long program just talking politics and the philosophies of genociding and war crimes. It's just entirely garbage news. It's entirely fake news because it's not actual news. It's not actually what's going on here. You'll never hear it. You'll never hear what's going on. You'll hear the couple of numbers and this or that, with no actual basis in physical reality, where they're just going to stand there for hours and hours and babble on about philosophical genociding, the privileges. So, Allahu Akbar.